Okay, here we go again for round two. Last time I put a video out, I showed the spreader bars in place here. Everything was fine and dandy and looked really great until I started putting the bug net on. And then I realized that the length was a little bit too long. It was out like this before, which was fine, until I tried to put this on and found that it pulled the corners too tight out of line. And it made the zippers really hard, if not impossible, to go around the corners. So I measured the normal spreader bars and went to exact lengths. And these are the exact lengths of the original now, so that the corners will go around good and your bug netting will all get on there. So that was the only thing that I would change from the original video. So there we have the complete setup. Now I'm going to change things up a little bit as far as a second option on how to do this. Alright. The way it was before, I had that where this hole fitting here would slide down in that hole I showed you on the other video. But I opted to do it a different way by drilling the indented parts that are on here that hold it together from the factory. They're stamped to hold it together. So I drilled out the places where they were poked a little bit and made it where I could pull the coupler out of the inside of this, freeing up the coupling to become part of the pole permanently. If you hear that, that's the sound of this coupling banging up against the inside of the top of this pole. If you see that without the pole there, it will go down in there quite a bit further. But I want the pole to be bottomed out to hold the weight, so I want to use that as a gauge of where to put it. Okay. Now when I glue this thing in place, when I glue it, I'm going to put the glue around here, keeping it back away from this edge, and holding the pole upside down with the glue on it. I'm going to slide that into the hole until I feel it click. Then I'll know the glue is there. I'm going to take a piece of tape, put it across here to hold it in place, and as soon as I can, I'm going to get this pole out of here, because I don't want to make the mistake of gluing it like this with the pole in there and having the glue run downhill inside that cylinder and gluing this up inside there. And you want to keep this upside down so that as the glue's drying, no glue runs down inside that cylinder, because if there's glue inside that cylinder, it's not going to receive this anymore. It's going to become smaller inside that cylinder than what this will clear. So you definitely don't want any glue down in there. So with that down in there and this glued in place, the reason I want that glued in place now is because I need this. I wanted to get away from where I showed you in the first video on how to put all this stuff back together every time when you get done, and that way it doesn't look like a cobbled up pole going down the trail. Well, I started thinking about it, and if you can see all these little pins, well, I can just see my sausage fingers fumbling around with those things near dark or up in the morning before the sun's coming up, trying to shove them in these little holes and dropping them on the ground, and quite frankly, 3 glasses in one. I don't feel like looking for a little piece of thing like that on the ground. So I made it where it was permanent. This thing just clips in here. There's a little tab here on the back, and this hole right here holds the back side of this on. So now that this thing is in place permanently, these pins won't go all the way through anymore like they used to, because this is in the way. So you're going to have to cut your pin to where it'll go in from both sides, and you don't want to push it all the way up against the pole, because you still want the pole to where you can slide your strap in there, and it It squeezes right in beside the coupling that you've got in there, and squeezes up against the side. So I won't be able to use the, excuse me, I won't be able to use the original quick snap. It's a tensioner that usually goes into the spot where the pole is and snaps down to hold your straps in place. So I got rid of that, screwed that off of there, and to make the straps work, I'm going to go around my hand, find the place that's comfortable, place where I want it, and I can still get my hand out, sausage fingers and all. And when I find that spot, I'll put a couple of threads in there to hold it in place. Now I'll have a, okay, then I'll take the rest of this material and go over this pole, over the coupling, and down into there. Okay. Now I can use the fact that that pole is slick and this stuff will slide. That won't rotate once it's glued, but this will slide around the outside of it just as easily. It's so tight in there that it's making that move. But once I got this around my wrist and get it to where I want it, I can find the sweet spot of where I wanted it adjusted to. Since I'm the only one that's going to be using these poles, they don't really need to be adjustable anymore. I'm the only one. So once I find that sweet spot, I'll gather that together and join it to where this will already be sewed on there. So I'll have my loop for my hand and my loop for my pole. And that way I don't need any of this locking mechanism, and everything will be the same as it was. This will stay here. When I get to camp, all I'll have to do is pull this piece, and I'll make a little sleeve to put it in on the end cap there on the hammock, so it's right there where I need it. What I'll have to do is pull a piece of Velcro out, reach in, grab it. I'll get to where I'm going to camp, use this as a spreader bar pole. I'll just pull this one little thing out, put it in place. Put it right back up in there. Now I salvaged the other coupler that was on the thing because I'm going to use it. If you come with me over here, you see on this end it's rigged up the same way. Come out. But on this one, for storage purposes, I'm going to make that little pouch I'm talking about and sew it on right here with a little Velcro on it so that all this will go down in there. Well, I don't really want this long piece in here and try and compress that into my hammock to be in a pain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the pole here and glue this coupler into one of the pieces, and then that piece will slide over that, reducing the length of the package that I'm carrying down to 2 sections like this instead of one long one. The materials that I'm using out of the factory spreader bars are 3.1 ounces of what it came with out of the original 9.9 weight. So we've reduced all that weight off the spreader bars, and everything's nice and sturdy, looks professional. Spreader bar colors, black. Fades right into the black, goes to red, looks like it's a factory application. And I'm liking it. When it's all done and back together, the only thing you lost was your micro adjustable cinch. Your stick pick is still in perfect condition. I don't know how it is on other hiking poles. I've seen people use this as this mod. But on this one, these thread things are so off-center of this shaft that I just know that that's where the twisting that people are getting on the other mods are coming from. And quite frankly, this threaded piece is only embedded in this cap. made out of this. So you have a potential of putting an arrow the shape of a hiking pole right through the side of your head if you're trusting this little piece of flexible plastic on here. So I had to get the force where it runs completely through the center of the shaft to where I would feel safe in using these liner poles. But I can't think of anything else to show you. Everything gets glued in place, and there's your hiking pole mod. Thank you.